LostScarf's crappy 30-second review of the new Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G. That title is too damn long. Review over. Welcome friends, LostScarf here, and it's time for take 6 of this vlog. I keep thinking of this, how this vlog can be better and how I don't want it to be bad. And there's always holes I keep finding. There's gonna be holes in this version, but I really gotta get it done. The first version was an hour long. The second version was 50 minutes, and then 40. So, let's see if we can pull off 20 minutes. How about that? So, every time I talk about this phone at the start, so we're talking about this phone again. The Galaxy Note, you can't see it too well because of brightness. Galaxy Note, whatever the hell the number's 20, Ultra 5G, that's a long-ass name. It is a $1,300 phone. Got this thing for $850 because Black Friday. Best Buy is doing Black Friday, big deal, take a lot of money off of the thing. And they found through Verizon you could take off to $450 off. So we got this for $450 off. Pretty nice deal there. You just had to do the whole payment system and everything and all that stuff. And with taxes and everything, it becomes maybe $300 off instead. And the way we're doing it is you have to do payments. You can't just pay it all off in one go. So do 30 days and then you can pay it all off. So that's what we're going to do because we don't want to just have another bill on us. And so that's pretty nice. It's a nice-ass phone. The stylus is nice on it. Apparently it's got, going to use words I don't understand too well. 120 megahertz refresh rate on the screen. All I know is when I play games, it is crisp. I know what the word crisp means now after playing on this thing. It looks nice, it's smooth, it's amazing. I'm enjoying gaming on this phone. That's what I usually use it for. Besides business, of course. It's nice. That's really the word, just nice. It looks really nice. Last time I upgraded my phone was 3 years ago. Some people upgrade their phone every year. That weirds me out. It's like, dang, that's a lot of money spent there. This is every 3 years, not so bad. Maybe even 4 years. Like this one I could stretch out for a while. It's a pretty nice phone, I feel. Best Buy is the place to go, it feels, for Black Friday stuff. It really just does. We got this one for $450 off. I got my watch for $100 or $200 off. I can't remember right now. Last year, I got the Note 8 when I got 3 years ago for a couple $100 off as well. So, they're just the place to go. This is randomly an ad for Best Buy right now. By the way, Walmart, Walmart was very slow and lazy about everything. With things I need to do with them. And so I said, screw you guys, I'm just going to go to Best Buy and buy more things. I got 5 more amiibos at Best Buy. So I got the Link's Awakening amiibo, which I hope is Toon Link. I really hope it's Toon Link and not Link, because I have Link already as far as amiibos go. I talk about this every time. I got Marth's great-grandson, Lady Marth's father, Crom. I got the hero. I got King K. Rool. There was only one of those. I'm glad I got that. And I got the Fire Tiger. Whatever Litten becomes. I forget what his name is right now. With the Hurricane Run off the top rope. That one. That would have been my pick in Sun and Moon if Primarina didn't have the Spirit Bomb. That would have been my pick for sure. But Primarina had the Spirit Bomb. So, went with Primarina. First time going water starter because of that. There was no contest in Sword and Shield. It was definitely going to be Score Bunny. There's no way you're going to pick anything else over that. That amiibo project is still happening. The back injury happened after all, and the surgery and all that, so that has been on the back burner. Same thing has been with the Kirby podcast with the Toy Box. I gotta get that done eventually. Speaking of the channel, there will potentially be some gaps in the schedule, because, the holidays, things are happening, people get busy, so there might be some gaps in the schedule. So expect that. Hyrule Warriors is going to be the next LP after all the hardcore Zelda stuff. And it's really fun. I enjoy it. It's very unfortunate it's 30 frames. And you really see the 30 frames. When there's too much stuff going on the screen, the frames don't happen very nicely. And it's very unfortunate. It really is. I'm enjoying the game, though. I'm really enjoying it a lot. I'm enjoying the story. It's not what I expected. You see the trailers okay, so there's some time travel here. So the timelines are getting broken open again. But it's not the time travel I expected it to be. So, motorcycle going by. So, without saying too much, I think we're back to 3 timelines. Or we're at 2 timelines. I haven't finished the game yet, so we might be at a dozen timelines. I don't know what's going to happen in it, but we're at least at a couple timelines. 2 at minimum, maybe more than that. Because the idea was Breath of the Wild combined all the timelines back together again, or something like that. Because you see things that couldn't possibly happen in different timelines, because just how they worked out, but they're all in Breath of the Wild. Like, there's references to a bunch of things. And now they're split open again. Legend of Zelda has never been consistent about their timeline anyway, so really. Nintendo games have never really been consistent in general, when you think about it. This is going off what I want to talk about, but Mario, it's 3 is all life's a stage and things like that. Because the theory is they're all just actors, and potentially that really could be what it is. Kirby, of course, the crazy lore gets crazier every new mainline game, but there's not enough there to really connect everything, but there is enough to give you some vague idea what's going on. Zelda, same thing. Metroid Prime might have the most cohesive thing, it's just, no one pays attention to it. Well, Metroid, I mean, not Metroid Prime, just... There is, like, a thing. There's a timeline. It's just a bit mucked because you don't get that many... There's not that many games to really follow. Enough of that. The big topic I keep talking about in this vlog that I keep reshooting is fantasy versus reality. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I need to research more into this. I need to research more into this and this and this and this. Because I want to talk about fantasy versus reality on the personal level and on the political level. And I keep having to research both for different reasons. And let's talk about, interchangeably, I suppose, fantasy versus reality. Fantasy versus reality, and let's just say the most recent thing, that of course is the election. The fantasy is that the election was stolen from Trump. That is the fantasy. If you're in that fantasy world, you need help. The reality is Trump lost the election. The voice of the people has been heard. But the bigger reality to understand, because there's always a harder reality to understand, that's why fantasy exists, is Trump got so many votes that he would have won in any other election. That is also the reality as well. The fantasy is just the belief that there's just rampant fraud after centuries of fraud not really being a thing with the mail. Trump has done this before. 4 years ago, he was bitching about the Electoral College, saying we need to change that, we need to get rid of that, because he was fully confident he'd win the popular vote. The opposite happened. He won the Electoral College and lost the popular vote. Despite that, he really, really hates that he lost the popular vote, and then he stopped talking shit about the Electoral College. That is what you do. When you see a loss coming, you try to do whatever you can to mitigate that defeat. You make excuses before it happens and after it happens. You just keep making excuses, and that's what's going on here. People on the right are saying, why are you still mad? You won. Why are you still mad at Trump and all this? Because Trump is eroding our sense of democracy. He is constantly, every day, just saying bullshit to undermine what has happened, the vote. I don't understand how you can be someone on the right and be okay with what Trump is doing and still believe in America. Because if the vote can be fixed, there's no point in our democracy. There's no point in the belief in voting. Now, if you've never voted at all and you believe this, it doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't mean anything you think, and it won't mean anything now because you're never going to vote. Like, you just believe all that crap. You believe that fantasy. Okay, all right. Whatever excuse it takes to not get up on Tuesday morning. Okay. That is the fantasy and the reality. The fantasy, let's go back further. Let's go to Obama's time. The fantasy was that racism was dead when we elected Obama. The reality is, like I said last week, is that electing Obama just gave everyone that black friend to give them excuses to do things, honestly. An unfortunate reality, which is the fantasy, is that somehow the right were cool during Obama, when they were very much in reality annoying as balls. They just kept standing in the way of Obama for a lot of things. Their entire goal, they said from the start, was to make sure he's a one-term president. They said that from the beginning. McConnell did not hide that. From the beginning, that was the plan. He wanted 2 terms. And they prevented him from getting a SCOTUS nomination. Garland was was it Garland? Yeah, Garland was an olive branch attempt from Obama, and they didn't even give him a chance. The hypocrisy among the right is very annoying. And let's talk about fantasy versus reality again. The fantasy of what people believe the right to be my entire life, and seeing the reality of it has been incredibly frustrating for me. I don't think people get why I'm so mad at the right still, is because I believed in them being this great party for most of my life, and then over time, as an adult, I've just seen them be really shitty. It is an absolute fantasy to believe that the left should always be the bigger man. The right tells the left they need the bigger man, the left tells itself it needs to be the bigger man, it needs to be the bigger one here, and try to bridge the gap between the left and the right. Fuck that. At this point, the left should be doing power politics as well. Let that gap get bigger, because it's going to get bigger anyway, and then when shit goes to shit, we finally come back together because we fucked up. Honestly, nothing gets fixed until it breaks. And unfortunately, the right has no interest in fixing that. The right's argument right now is, hey, if you pardon Trump, this will mend the nation. That's what they're saying to Biden right now. Pardon Trump to mend the nation. This isn't Gerald Ford's situation. That won't work, because Trump will take the pardon and just keep doing the bullshit he's doing. You really think that guy's going to change his tune? No. That's not how that works. Trump is the embodiment of what America is in a lot of ways. They're an embodiment of we're the best, we don't lose, losing doesn't exist. That's a fantasy. We all live in this fantasy because we're really, really bad at accepting defeat. We're really, really bad at accepting loss. We're really bad at that. And this is a reality we need to get better at, honestly. As people in general, we're bad at embarrassing ourselves. We're bad at defeat. We're bad at mistakes. We're bad at loss. We're just bad at all the negative things. And we have them all the time. We make excuses for that crap. We get really mad about it. We don't try to learn from it. Loss is the best time to learn, because you see how things didn't work out. You take a test, you fail the test, you see what you did wrong. Do you just get mad and then not learn? Or do you figure out what you got wrong there so you can do better in the next test? Why is academia not translating to life in a lot of ways? How often is a team undefeated in sports? You take from those losses and you learn from them and you get better for the next game. Losses happen all the time. Now, cheating does happen, of course. Cheating does happen. Well, the Patriots, they cheated. That wasn't during, of course, one of their... Well, they never had an undefeated season. They just had really good seasons. But great teams do have cheating as well that we've seen in the past. It's very unfortunate. So cheating does happen. So fraud is perfectly possible to happen. But it has been put that fraud is extremely rare. It's been rare forever. Something I realized that I want to bring up during my just reading back on everything is the impeachments we've had. Or the impeachments we almost had. So Nixon, he was wiretapping. He was doing a whole lot of bullshit. Doing some really silly things. And he did a lot of not great things, break-ins and stuff like that, covering up or doing his just trying to win kind of thing. I'm wording this poorly. Nixon was wiretapped the Democratic House. Like, he wiretapped their building, whatever the building's called. He wiretapped their place. He wiretapped a bunch of his opponents. He wiretapped a bunch of things. He did break-ins. A break-in is the cause of Watergate. The break-in at Watergate, that's how everything went south on him. He never got impeached because he got out before that happened. But he was going to get impeached on that. There's no way that wasn't going to happen. That's pretty serious. Bill Clinton got impeached because he lied about a lady blowing him. He got impeached over perjury during, by the way, a lame duck session. That's what he got impeached on. Trump got impeached over the Ukraine thing, because that was pretty damn serious, I feel. There was plenty of other things he got impeached on. The fantasy was, though, that impeachment is enough. Impeachment really is just a show that you did something. You need the whole thing to happen, you want to take a president out. And we learned, a lot of people learned during Trump's administration, a lot of civics. A lot of civics lessons happened. And they learned that their fantasies were just fantasies, and the reality was setting in. Impeachment wasn't enough. Trump had the Senate. He wasn't going to get taken out. He wasn't going to lose there. Despite how undeniably bad a lot of the things Trump has done, it wasn't enough because that's where we are in politics. The reality is extremely frustrating when it comes to politics because there is a different game going on there. And that's the other thing is when you gamify all of this, because politics is gamified, there is a lot of just playing dirty and things like that. We want to believe politics can be clean, but it cannot be. There's just a lot of money involved, and people want to have a career out of all this. It's very frustrating to see all that. That is the reality. And I took the time, and Gadjinx helped me a bit, to find this list. Trump has literally hired hundreds of lobbyists into his cabinet. Literally hundreds. The fantasy was that Trump would drain the swamp. The reality is he's made it stronger. And I'll just give you the short list on it, not the whole exhaustive 200. I'll just give you the short one, and that is this one right here. A coal lobbyist currently runs the EPA. An oil lobbyist runs the DOI. A farmer exec runs the HHS. A Raytheon lobbyist runs the DOD. A Verizon lawyer runs the FCC. A banking exec runs the Treasury. A shipping heiress runs DOT. A private equity kingpin runs Commerce. And an unqualified billionaire runs the DOED. Those are just the big ones. And then there's just hundreds of other ones. That's not good. That's not good in any way. That is the swamp. There is this fantasy world that I don't understand with Trump's cult. It really is a cult that weirds me out. It's very not good, and the divide's going to get bigger because Trump exists. And we have these unprecedented things that just keep happening over these years. Now, the thing is, it's a fantasy belief that America has always been this perfect democracy. The reality is it's always been kind of shitty, and there's always been two sides. On every rarely time there's been 3 or 4 parties, but the majority it's been 2. Federalists, anti-federalists, all that crap. From the beginning to now, there's always been a lot of just 1 versus 2. That's it. There's always been this us versus them mentality. We're very tribal, and it's not good for us, but it's been what it has been. And bad things have happened. But the bridge has been gapped over the centuries. But the thing is, over the centuries, things have gotten just a little more mean and aggressive and dirty, and the divide has gotten wider and wider and all this stuff. Really, the big shakeup during civil rights is really what really affected things when the Democrats and the Republicans shifted their priorities and gears. That really was an interesting shakeup there. So we are in this just really bad fantasy versus reality, where everyone's just in this fantasy that America is this amazing place, when really, it's good. It's better than a lot of places, but we're also fudged up in a lot of ways as well. And honestly, look, if you hate so many people in America that you want to leave America, obviously we're not a great place. Like, this is an argument to the people on the right is, look at all these leftists that you hate. You know they're a part of America, right? So what do you want? You say they hate America? I think you hate America just as much if you hate them. They're a part of America. They want to see America do better. You want to see America do better, right? So what the fuck even? People have different opinions on what can be done to make America better. A guy who shits in gold toilets does not believe in farmers. Please. Please. Here's another fantasy. China. That whole thing. All that did was cause a restructuring of taxes and tariffs and all that stuff. You know who paid for that? We did. We paid for that. We paid for that in higher prices and appliances. The farmers definitely paid for that, and they're getting subsidized by the government, but that ain't gonna last forever. The farmers always get effed. They always get effed in the A, and it's very unfortunate for them. It's happening again. Talk about personal fantasy versus reality. I'm talking again about losses and victories and just learning from defeats, where we just make excuses for mistakes and this and that. I know I was guilty of that. I should always bring it about me a little bit, just so you know I'm not talking out of my ass. I know I've made mistakes in, like, different jobs, and I'll put on someone else, like, well, you know, they were part of this project too, so they must have fudged it up in this way and that way. Like, I'll scramble, find some excuse real quick. They're not there to defend themselves, and there you go. I've done that in school. I've done that in work in the past. Not in my current job. In my current job, no, in my age, I own that shit. I make a mistake, it gets us in trouble in compliance with the state. I'm like, look, I made that mistake. I will own up to it, and by owning up to it, we get ahead of it. So now, Like, here's the mistake, here's where we screwed up, we know it happened here, instead of it just surprising the boss at some point, or surprising the state, we can tell the state's like, yeah, here we are, right here, this mistake was made at this place by this person, me. I'm fine with putting the mistake on me, because that's where I am as a person now. As long as I don't make a big mistake, or make a mistake more than once, I'm fine. I've made the big mistake once, I need to not make it more than once, basically. But the thing is, here's the other thing is the state and local and all that stuff. We have way stricter regulations than federal. So we're still, even when we get in trouble with the state, we're not in trouble that bad because we're doing way better than everyone else anyway. Flint happened for a reason. That's because federal is extremely lax. And Michigan's state regulations are extremely lax as well. California's extremely, extremely stringent. One more thing on politics really quick because I forgot about it. It's purely optics. The curfew in California, that's 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Really, that doesn't do anything. That really doesn't do anything. It's just like, well, anyone partying at that late, they'll just party during the day. Or they'll just party till 10. There's still going to be big gatherings. It's not changing anything, honestly. I don't know. That's just purely symbolic. I don't know what can really be done, but that ain't going to do it. Maybe fines. Maybe just start doing fines. Get more draconian. I don't know. A curfew just doesn't have a good ring to it in America, so it ain't gonna work out, and there's protests happening right now because of it. It's important to learn from mistakes. Now, okay, fantasy versus reality again. Fantasy versus reality, let's talk about weight loss. The word fat burning is such a mistake. So, your fat cells never go away. What happens is you kind of need just discipline if you want to just keep the fat gone. Like The Biggest Loser. Like, there's a lot of people in that show. They lose like hundreds of pounds and then they regain it over the years. And that's because, well, they were in an environment where they were training all the time and they were forced to eat a certain diet. That's what happened there. Once they get home, you're not in that environment anymore. Environment's kind of important for this thing. I've lost 20 pounds this year and I'm gaining a couple pounds back. Of course, because the back injury, I'm not being as active as I was, but also because my family keeps buying cake. I'm like, well, you guys get cake, I want cake too. So that's what happens. That's not good. I should be cutting back on cake. I should be cutting back on desserts and things like that. I really should just have like one cheat day or not a week, like just one cheat day at some point. Like that's really what should be. But I've been lax on that lately because of the injury, and so I'm gaining some weight, which is not good. Because here's what happens. Your fat cells, if you're fat, they're like this. If you've lost weight after being fat, they're like this. Waiting to come back to this. And the more times this happens, it gets stronger at this, so it's harder to do this. That's how it works, because your body likes to store fat for emergency situations. I don't know why it's like that. Well, because of caveman times. It holds onto your fat more because it's a great source of calories. So it holds onto it. It will burn your muscle before it burns your fat because it just wants to have this store for the big emergencies. It's holding onto this for the big emergencies instead of holding onto your muscles for big emergencies, because your muscles don't give as many calories as your fat does. So it'll just kill it'll kill your muscles before it kills your calories, your fat, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. So that's why you can rebound in weight gain very quickly if you're a fat person. That's why you have to be disciplined and keep the calorie count down, or just what you're eating down. It's just how that works out. Because your fat cells don't disappear, they stay like this. Now you can get rid of them using liposuction. That's what liposuction does. It just yanks them out. Which isn't exactly safe because, of course, there were other things in you, like your organs, that had this buffer that they were used to that's not there anymore. Like, when you lose weight, you're gradually losing that. When you liposuction out, they're not used to just that cushion being gone. It's like just dropping a ball. Like, your organ, a ball, boom. Like, that's what's happening. It's like, just like, oh, there's all this space now, and it's not... was snug, now it's not. It's just not great. That's what liposuction do. It's an interesting temptation because it is a cheat, but it's also a dangerous cheat. It killed Kanye's mom, after all. All the money in the world killed Kanye's mom. Like, it's important to look at reality. Not for the bleakness of it, but to understand where you are so that you can do something, so you can actually do something instead of do nothing. Because I feel like a lot of us, sometimes we put ourselves in a fantasy headspace and we don't actually attain anything because we're like, well, this is possible, we might get there someday, but it just doesn't happen. Like, it's purely a fantasy at my age with my back injury for me to become something like a judo champion in the Olympics. That is something you train from a young age and all that stuff, and then, strict diet, strict work regimen, all that stuff, to become a champion in judo. That's something I had to do since I was a kid, if I wanted to do that. If I wanted to do that now, it'd be an amazing story if I somehow pulled that off, especially with the back injury. But no, that's something that couldn't possibly happen. I could get in good shape trying, but that's something that wouldn't possibly happen. That is a fantasy. The reality is I can still make myself quite fit. I can lose this stomach here, and I can just become a stronger person and have a strong back and hopefully never have to have surgery again. That is a reality I can have. The fantasy is just me having full mobility now, which really sucks. What I'm really saying is, just think about your hopes and dreams and what is fantasy and what is reality. I'm not saying don't shoot for the moon. I'm saying actually get a good idea where your grounding is. Where are your feet right now? Where is your spot? And think about it. And think about what you can actually do and attain to get to where you want to get. Not saying like lower your expectations. I'm saying see how you can actually get there. Thankfully, my fantasy has never been to be the guy. It's never been to be PewDiePie. It's never been to be Ninja. It's never been to be some big like 10 mil account. I fully believe we could still achieve the 1 mil. I think that's always a possible thing to do. Just got to find our pocket, got to get even better at what we're doing, and we can get to that point. Because that is actually possible for so many people. I think the reality is that is possible. The reality, though, is also to keep in mind is there's some luck involved in there as well. The right people need to see you, but you have to be doing the right thing to make them see you as well. There's a back and forth when it comes to luck to an extent. What we're doing is we're building a skill set that will hopefully someday get the right amount of attention at the right time. Like, that's what everyone's doing. You're just creating this signal. You're trying to create a signal that will be noticed by enough of the right people to make something big happen. And that could happen at who knows what point in your life. Because the one thing is Colonel Sanders exists. Colonel Sanders was honing his business. He had a gas station turned into a restaurant, and he was figuring out the 11 herbs and spices and all that stuff. But here's the thing. He had those 11 herbs and spices for a long time. It's just that not the right people were finding that food. But eventually, enough people found the food. Word of his food was spreading around. And eventually, he was able to just grow and grow and grow and grow. Colonel Sanders made it at age 65. I'm 34. It won't be YouTube. Like, if we got big at 65, it wouldn't be YouTube. It'd be some other new thing that we somehow were able to pull it off on. But what you're doing in life is building skills towards something. And it may happen, it may not happen. That's the reality of it. The fantasy is, I think, there's also dark fantasy. The fantasy of, which is not as fanciful as just of like, well, this all ain't gonna mean shit and I'm just gonna be dead in a ditch or some crap like that. There's also those fantasies, that's not the reality. Unless you really F up, you're never gonna be in that ditch. Like, seriously. Somewhere in the middle is probably what might happen, but the reality is, with the skills we keep building up and just the passion we have for this channel, it's always possible for us to grow again to maybe 30,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. It's always possible. I think 1 mil would be a nice goal to attain because it's a nice number everyone likes. 1 mil is a nice number. We all like that number. That is potentially a fantasy, of course, but it's always doable. I think if you really keep sticking at something, just keep putting in the work, and find a way to be a strong signal, that is possible. I believe in the channel. I know some of y'all believe in us as well. The one thing I have wanted, and I will not accept it as a fantasy, is I really want to be I want to be at least a rising tide. I want to be someone who helps other people. That has always been a goal of the channel. That's why I did guides and everything. And to an extent, we've pulled that off. Unexpectedly, of course. We have stopped 7 suicides. 7 people are on this planet because of us. That is something to be proud of. That is an amazing thing, and that will always solidify a cornerstone of why I love doing this. besides it being a creative outlet and just hanging out with y'all. Ultimately, what I want to be is a rising tide. I want to be someone who helps others grow in some way. And I know we have. Like, I keep saying this. We've helped others grow in some way, shape, or form. And I want to keep being that. And if possible, I would love it if we were able to be this rising tide, probably not on Twitch, but in YouTube, just helping others grow their channels as well. Of course, we have to be a growing channel first to be able to do that. But that's something I would love to do, is to create just, I don't want to say network, but I guess that's the word to use. Just this web, I'll go with web. Just weave this thing, this tapestry of just people who are just getting better at whatever they want to get better at. Living their best life. Why not? Let's go with that. Someone wants to be a YouTuber, we find a way to help them get better at that. Someone wants to be a streamer, we help them get better at that. Of course, Streamlabs and all that exists. Now I'm just talking out of thoughts. That's the question that we should all ask ourselves. Like, what do you want? What do you really want? What are you spending all this time on? If you're gaming, and you're gaming a lot, it's okay if you're just gaming because you need that outlet. You need that fun. You don't need to jobify it. I feel like we're doing too much jobification of things, and that's something I've broken away from, is I don't want to jobify streaming. 8 hours a day of streaming? Are you kidding me? As much fun as I have with you guys, you know we'd all be miserable from 8 hours of that straight every day. YouTube as a career sounds like fun to me, though. It really does. I don't know if we'd ever get to that point, but it still sounds like fun to me. Just working on things all day. What I want, what I truly want with this channel, is community. I think that's really the word I'm looking for. Community. A community of people. Whatever that is. And we're having fun together, we're doing things together, and if anyone wants to grow and become something more in whatever way that I can help, I would want to help. That's what I think. They want to do YouTube too? Then I'll see how I can help them. They want to do streaming too? See how I can help them. That is what I want 2021 to be. I've thought about this for the last couple months, honestly. I've really thought about it and just keep thinking of it as like the Rising Tide Initiative. The problem is how do you do it when you're not a rising tide yet? That's the thing. If I can figure that out, then I'll do that. But that's something I got to figure out. But that's something I want to be. A rising tide. That is really what I want. That's in this facet of life. In the YouTube part of my life, that is what I want. In the physical part of my life, I don't want to have this stomach anymore. And I really need to push harder on dieting for that. And being better about walking, exercise, and not having this back injury get worse for the rest of my life. Make it stronger, make it better. I want that. When I get into physical therapy, ask as many questions as I can ask all the questions to ask. Just do that. Because of my love life, obviously, I want a wife, I want kids, I want all that stuff to still happen. So I need to stop being scared of getting slapped down. Not slapped down, but just getting told no. No is going to happen. No is a step to yes. Might not be with that person, but with somebody. And that's something I need to work on. Of course, the virus is here right now. I've said this many times. But at a certain point, I'm getting on the dating apps, and I'll start putting money into them to see if that works out. If I don't want to be alone, then I need to start making strides towards that. Like real good strides towards that. Instead of just hoping something will fall in my lap. Because that's how the last relationships happened, and good and bad, that's how they were. But now that I'm older, I can't just let that be just how it happens. I can't just have it come to me. I gotta go to it. Just really think about what do you want, and how can you pull that off. That's really what I'm saying with this vlog. Fantasy's nice, and if you can pull off that fantasy, win that lottery, hell to the yeah for you. But you can still achieve plenty in reality as well. There's nothing wrong with fantasy. I'm not trying to say fantasy's bad. Hell no, fantasy's great, but I don't want us to be stuck in the clouds and not achieve something for ourselves. So that is the vlog. I had fun talking. It went long, but this is the best version so far. This is going to be the one we put out. I had fun talking before watching and listening. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.